Everybody, it is so good to see you. I am Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
And this wonderful painting, I'm going to break it down step by step so that you can paint it at home. I tell you every technique, every color mix, every tool that I am using. As you came in, you saw the wonderful tool sets. You know everything that's going to be used in this video and an idea of what is going to be going on. This is a really fun painting. I'm going to be covering a lot of great techniques. It's part of Acrylic April, so if you're here for the daily painting, welcome. I think every year you guys are so brave and so amazing. I love seeing everything you're doing in the Acrylic April group. Definitely share with me all the places on social media. John loves seeing it as well. Oh my goodness, we're still here. We're going every day. Or maybe you just came by to paint this one. Hopefully we've enticed you to come in every day.
Yeah.
So get your paint, get your brushes, and let's hop on in. We've got another painting to do today. So I'm going to begin the journey with the wish, healing through the journey. So that's today's sentiment. We're healing through the journey. I have that in watercolor here on the canvas. I'm going to be beginning with titanium white, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue. I may also get a little bit of my Titanate yellow, that Naples yellow light, into that mix. We're going to be doing a gradation and a diffused blending. So we're going to want to make sure that we're working while the paint is still wet. Are you ready to get into this, John?
I am.
Let's pick up our magic tools. I'm going to be using my angle brush here. This is a 3/4 inch angle brush. You could use a 1/2 inch. Wherever you're at on your angle brush, we just want a nice thing. And if you don't have an angle brush, use a break. I'm going to begin by loading my brush up with some white. And I'll go ahead and have my handy dandy mister and mist my canvas. That's a little bit to allow me to blend out my watercolor words, though, as well. And I'm going to begin to put in a little bit of a white kind of glaze over the surface. I am turning a bit to the left. That's so I have a nice axis in my brush stroke because I'm painting flat. I'm going to go ahead and dip my brush in a little bit of water. And we're going to make our purple, which is our quinacridone magenta and our ultramarine blue. And they make the nicest, sweetest purple. They do.
They do.
I'm going to come up here and just very softly, while the paint is wet, kind of brush back and forth the color. Get a little more white into it. There's even a little more white over here. This first little gradation really sets us up for the rest of the project, for all the blends and everything. Sometimes having a layer is really helpful. Now I'm adding a little more blue into my mix as I come down towards the bottom. And I'm working fairly fast back and forth, as you can see. Just getting that first layer on.
Gotta get ready, layer one.
Ready layer one, that's right. And what's nice about this layer is because we have another kind of glazing blending layer going on over the top of it. It's a great space to get a little warmed up into your surface. So we've got some little variance and values. I would like it to be a little lighter up at the top, but we're going to be able to hit that in the next layer. Fairly blended all the way through. Now, this is the first thing you have to do. And weirdly enough, we're going to dry it so that at the next step we can do more wet into wet blending. But you'll be getting that nice smooth blend as long as you were working through all the stratas of paint being wet. You ready, John?
I'm ready.
So we have dried the surface completely. And I'm going to pick up one of my very favorite tools. This is a 1-inch oval mop, and it's synthetic. So any 1-inch oval mop that's synthetic will do this task fairly well. I'm going to get it damp and wipe off on a paper towel. And I'm going to come in and load up with a nice amount of a very light color. Okay. So it's a little bit purple, a little bit our purple color, but it's fairly light. And we're going to come up here and very lightly brush that out in the upper corner where things are light. See how that's much lighter?
Oh, yeah.
There's a curve to my brush stroke. But there's some of the pink showing through. There's some of that atmosphere showing through. I'll go ahead and get a little dusting of that more blue-purple for over in the corner with my ultramarine blue. And you can see because these two areas are wet, they blend together well. And this brush is very soft, so that also improves the blending. A little more pink into this mix over here. Going fairly quickly. And that is sometimes the trick. What's happening. And you can see I'm light pressure. I'm not pressing down hard on the brush. All right, we're not just pushing it down. I'm going to mix a little of my quinacridone and ultramarine blue together. Get kind of that deeper, darker value that's at the bottom. I'll come up from the bottom. And blend this. Not a nice blend? All right, now without drying, we're going to want to go on to the next step, and we're going to do it in kind of a hurried way because I'd like it if this background were a little bit wet still. Whew, so it's still a little bit wet, and now we're going to kind of tune in some of the different blends and values that are going on here. I have my 1/2" angle brush, and I'm working a little more textural value through here, like you might. I'm also going to come through and get a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my quinacridone magenta. I'm going to come up on the edge here in the purple. And I'm going to just make these little structural plant lines. So this is like a bit of a ladder. This is upward. I'm going upward. Some are shorter, some are lighter. And then I'm going to take my mop brush that I had from earlier, damp, and I'm going to just diffuse this a little bit. See how I'm doing? A little out of focus, isn't it? Kind of fun stuff in that background.
Soft little.
Little soft. This is a little more purple over here. Same kind of upward lines. Same damp brush. I don't want to erase it. I just want to kind of take that out. So some of how it looks out of focus is that it's a similar value to the background, and some is that we blend it. If you get lifting when you blend it, then go ahead and allow the surface to dry, and then come back and try again. That's no problem. Okay. So while we're here, I'm going to show you a cute trick. It's a fun trick. This is a pouncer. It's a round tool, and you can get them in a variety of costs. You can also just draw circles with your brushes. I'm going to come in and load into my white at first, and I'm going to make some little circles that are here in the background.
Oh,
Maybe a
those are
little more
nice.
magenta. I might get a little bit into that light yellow. See how we're doing? Now I found a really cool thing, and I'm always looking for tools. I just will demo this. This was the insert to a battery pack. So I saved all the little foam inserts.
That would be a triple A.
Exactly. But it gives me different sizes, right?
Yeah. Double A, triple A, C.
So we have a little bit of these little soft, out of focus, implied lights. And you can even kind of come through if you want and like diffuse those a bit. Now I'm kind of doing a little curve stroke, so it's like blending them in some and diffusing them some. Oh my goodness, that was a very exciting
That is a very
little
exciting step.
journey. Put your sponges in water if you don't want them to be harmed.
Turn into little
No sponge
bricks.
was harmed in the making of this painting. All right, so we've got quite a lot going on here. A nice little ombre. We've got a little bokeh happening. So this will let us make a nice focus of the butterflies. You ready to come back for the next step?
I am.
Next step. So let's put our little focal flowers in. These are going to be a lot of fun to paint. We're going to be doing it with this number 4 round synthetic brush. I'm going to get my brush wet and I'm going to mix my quinacridone magenta and my burnt sienna. It's an interesting little mix, isn't it? Now these two are kind of a little bit transparent, so I will be playing with that in the stem. And we're going to do one here, come up from the bottom. And go up. Now let's come over here and make another little friend. You have to leave room for 2 butterflies, right? I'm going to add some white to my mix here. And at the top, I'm going to start lightening that. We're going to actually have some diffused lighting through the stems. Coming down, stroking down. Maybe get into that little yellow up there and some more white. This is the light tighten it yellow. And come down. And as I come down, I'm going to actually even pull into some more purple. Isn't that interesting? I haven't rinsed my
That
brush.
is interesting. You're using all the colors on the palette.
I'm working through a lot of them. There we go. So we have a nice little sort of shading on that stem.
Mm.
Now, on the outside of that, let's get a little bit of our white. It can be tinted with our mix of burnt sienna and quinacridone, but I definitely want to put in a little more of my yellow here. And we're going to come on the left side of the stem. I'm adding water to my paint to thin it, and I'm working the toe.
Is that because it's where your light source is?
That is because that's where the light source is. That is exactly where it is. How are you doing today, John?
I'm watching you paint. Drinking
For like
coffee.
30 days straight. It's your acrylic April as well as mine.
Mm-hmm. It's coffee and watch cinnamon paint month.
It kind of is.
Although, that's what Every month is for me.
Well, but this month is a little more intense than other
It's a
months.
little more marathon-y.
It's a little more marathony. Now, what's real fun is I can take a little of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green together. I might even get some of my ultramarine blue to kind of cool it. Cool it. I'm gonna make a green gray. A dark one and a light one. Well, darker. I'm gonna come right here. And I'm gonna do little touch pull strokes. Where I just touch the brush and pull back to kind of talk about the little stem work.
Oh yeah.
Little leaves that are on these. We're really kind of carefully studying and observing the plant. As you come up, you can even get a little of your cad yellow into it
Oh yeah.
because the light would be there. So it is a darker version of the color. And I just keep lightening it as I go up. Little leaves
That's pretty cool.
going around the stem. Little yellow, little white. We're painting light here.
Hmm.
And guess what we get to do?
What do you get to do?
Same thing to its friend.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Little touching and
Friends
inking.
like,
This is touching with permission from the canvas.
please don't leave me out.
Don't leave you out.
That's what that stick said.
Please don't leave me out. I
I need
too wish to be painted in beautiful colors.
I need leaves. Don't leave me out.
Get a little yellow in there.
Leave me. All right. Well,
Leaf you out.
my bad dad puns.
Your bad dad puns are the best bad dad puns. I'm gonna add a little white to it. And we'll add some of that up to the top of that stem, right? Let's do it. Okay. When we have that all the way there, I'm gonna get a lot more white on this. And I'm gonna remember to keep misting my paint so that stays fresh. You may not need to do that at home, but I do. I'm going to add some white highlights
That's cool.
to these little leaves. Even get a little bit of that tight knit yellow, that light Naples, tight knit yellow. So every year I think I'm going to drop this yellow because it confuses people. Definitely read the blog if you just came into this lesson and you hadn't heard of that color before. The blog makes it super easy. Lets you know how you can mix it if you don't have it. Lets you know why you might want to have it and go to the trouble of finding it. And also helps you realize it is kind of easy to find if you know a couple of things. And so try to make sure I share those things in the blog. Look at that. So now it really looks like those little leaves have light in them, doesn't it?
It does.
Painting flowers. Super fun to do. So you get to roses and then it's like art math. Like, where's the fold again? I don't remember where that went. A little of that tight knit yellow, and I'm just touching and pulling down. Touch, touch, touch. Touch, touch, touch. All right. That's this step.
Okay.
We're getting through. Next, we get to come back and put in flowers, which is the most fun. Let's do that. So we're going to be doing some flowers, which is the most fun, I
Yep.
think. I think flowers are super duper fun. I'm going to actually be doing a mix of my Tight Knit Yellow and a little of my quinacridone. I really like these two together. So there'll be like little ranges of more to the yellow, more to the pink. You know,
Mhm.
I'm working that out there. Can you see that there? Working those different values. I'll go ahead and get some white also. Wipe off my brush and let's start just putting in some flowers. Let's begin with more of our pink range. And I'm going to curve a stroke and pull another little stroke. Let's give ourselves a stem coming down. A stem in.
The stem.
A stem. Kind of a little attachment. A reason the flowers are attached. Sometimes it's 3 little petals. Sometimes it's more. We got this though. You got this.
Yeah, you can do the flowers.
You can do the flowers.
I think,
As I go up, I'm going to kind of lighten them. I still want to be able to see them against the background. And I just like to lighten them. Other side. You were thinking?
yeah, there are very few um, superheroes that have flower power.
Ivy.
Well, Poison Ivy's kind of an anti-hero. And
I
then
mean,
there's the new Disney princess from the
oh, from Encanto?
Encanto.
Yeah. Yes, completely.
She's got flower power.
Definitely miles and miles of perfect roses.
I mean, Mario kind of has flower power, but again, he's kind of an anti-hero.
Again.
Luigi's much more of the unsung hero in that pair.
You think so?
Yeah, Mario, if you actually go back and look at it, Mario's not that nice. He's always like, you know, playing a little underhanded.
Yeah, well, there's always one in everywhere, right? Now I'm going to wipe my brush out and I'm going to take my color with a little more yellow in it, but it's still got that pink cast, right? Well, let's run it over here to the white. You need to get some water involved so it'll flow off your brush. That's what I do is I kind of roll and go. Come up here to the top. Start adding these lighter values. A little bit to the edges. A little bit of light.
They're very pretty little flowers.
Just little pretty flowers.
What kind of flowers are these?
I have no idea.
Pink pretty ones.
Pink Pretty Ones was my selection process. If you know the particular variety of botanical this is, let me know. Pretty good there. They've got some light to them. I'm going to go even lighter
How?
because, I'm wild like that.
Because you can always just highlight it up a notch.
Highlight it up a notch, especially like up here. Whenever you have a beautiful lighting like this, it's so romantic.
It
It's
really is.
very fun to come in and play with that lighting.
You know, just stop here with the flowers.
You could, but I think I already mentioned the butterflies, so I'm sure
I think you mentioned butterflies.
people are probably waiting on the butterflies.
There's always the chance that she'll just stop and give this to the patrons. So if you don't know about better patronage, you should check that out too.
Okay. Shameless self promotion for the win. I am grabbing a little bit of my purple color and a little more magenta, right? Kind of cool down. Let's maybe at the base of the flower add a little of that.
I would say that's probably the thing that we're the worst at, though,
What?
is promotion of our
Of our stuff?
stuff.
Maybe. Add a little there. Just touches of it are good.
This is really pretty, though. I like these little flowers. It would almost be like,
You
just
gotta
give me
paint
the
what you
flower.
gotta paint. Huh?
I would say, just give me the flowers. I like the flowers.
Just the flowers? Nothing but the flowers?
I think the way you did the background and the little foreground flowers, they're like two little friends. They're hanging out in the sun.
I feel like that does encompass what that is. So I was just back there playing with the darker color. You know, I like to just make sure that we have both of the so the light edges make sense. So that's like they're catching the light. It's really about playing the value. I think we're maybe pretty good there, though. I'm happy with that.
Pretty
We had
fantastic.
a nice little moment with it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, let's call it step. I want to populate my little moment here with some butterflies. I'm going to still round brush, number 4. I'm going to come in and get a little bit of my dark purple, which is my quinacridone magenta, and my ultramarine blue, but I just don't add some white to it. And you can see it gets quite dark. Makes a very nice color. And I'm going to come up here kind of to the top, and I'm going to make a few little downward brush strokes, not dissimilar to the flowers. And I'm going to begin to build a little body. This is the butterfly body. And then kind of staggered down and make another little face. A little bit of a thorax. Come up here. Little body. All right, looking pretty good. They look weird initially. Sometimes you just have to kind of paint shapes in and then they just come together as the color lets them come together. You know, bring some little thoughtful legs to the flower, you know, because they got to hold on somehow. And they do. They like to hold on. Little forward-facing feely antennas because they have feelings. You know. I'm going to kind of fluff them
Hmm.
a little bit on the edge here. Really probably won't see the fluff until I get the right highlights on there, but it's good to give them a deep base to begin with. Now, we're going to rinse out, and we'll get back to the color we just did in a minute, but first we've got to get the wing. So we're going to take quinacridone magenta, burnt sienna, maybe a little bit of cad yellow in there. And let's get some white into that interesting color. And then you're going to come above the butterfly. A little bit of a press and pulling in stroke. What is the body? The wing arcs out and comes back a bit. That little shape right there. And then there's a back wing. Kind of overlaps. That's nice. Got a nice little beginning. We're going to do a similar thing here. Thumbs up. These wings are going to be a little bit open. All right, looking pretty good. And then we're going to get the shadow wing in. Shadow wing. Shadow wing, which is shockingly enough, again, purple. Shocker of all shockers. And that is step one, and we need to dry it before we can do the next part of the butterfly. We're going to put a little detail on the flutterfurs. The flutterfurs.
All right.
First, let's get some shading going in the wing. I'm going to take, I might even get even a little of my cad yellow in here. Gotta really brighten it up. White. Shade the interior of the wing. Come forward, because, I've got a back wing here. Then you get back into my darker color. But my brush is still wet, and it's still blending wet into wet. See how that creates that beginning of that shading?
Yeah.
Doing a similar thing over here. The light color first. Whoops.
Woo!
That was a very lucky moment for me, and I
That
only had
was?
one little boo-boo.
And there's a little, is the white one to the right? Oh,
No, yeah.
okay.
That was a bokeh from earlier.
Oh. You did good.
We looked out there. That was exciting.
Much more butterfly excitement than one would expect in a video.
You would be thinking you were going to be running. It's like, oh my.
They're drama flies.
They're drama flies. All right. Inside the wing, I'm going to come into my blue and a little bit of white. Maybe even a more little bit of white.
Mm.
Kind of work that space. I'm coming on the toe of the brush. There's a little bit of this sort of white edge. Back with the blue. Shaping that edge out a bit. And I'll come back with a detail later to kind of get that, but we're just starting to capture that A little bit, you know.
Mm.
I'm grabbing my weird green I mixed from earlier. All right, and then that has started to, dry. So I can get some purple. Just a little ultramarine. Come up here and kind of dry brush a little of that over the wing.
Oh yeah. Those are nice butterflies.
Shade with a little bit of blue. Yeah, they are. It's just fun to do. Little butterfly. Little fluttery butterfly. Shade a little bit of purple there. I want to improve the dusting here on this wing. Look a little bit better. A little dusting. All right. Let's call that a step because that was a lot to do, and we'll come back and continue to add details. So now I'm going to switch into a monogram liner. This is a number 4, but what it is just a very long. You can get them script liners, monogram liners. You just want a longer length out. I'm going to get it wet. Let's come back and maybe not black first. I think it'll be easier to come inside some of the stuff. If you have not tried this, I love this type of paint. This is titanium white fluid acrylic. You could just add water to your heavy body white. But this is a super pigmented high flow product, which means that I can do certain techniques a lot easier and get more impactful results. That's why I choose it. I'm going to come here and see how nicely that just loads up into my brush.
Oh yeah.
I'm again adding a little ultramarine blue into that. Let's see if I can get a nice little series of fluffy lines.
Oh yeah. Little fluffy.
And I want to take away all the dark. And tap up and down for like little dots up here. And a similar deal, little dots. But believe it or not, the face is fluffier than you think. I'm going to rinse out. And get maybe a little more white onto this. And edge that wing. Even edge this wing. Now we're edging them.
Yeah.
Pull down. We'll pull down. I think probably technically these are more moths.
Yeah. They could be.
Moths are pretty colorful, so sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, it's a butterfly, when really it's just a moth.
It's true.
Just a moth. Like, that's so shady. Like, I have no problems with moths. I'm completely happy with moths.
You don't want to start nothing with Mothra.
I really don't. I really, really don't. Interestingly enough, this one has a little bit of backward fluff. Come around here, and let's even get into this very light help the fur also show. Sometimes it takes that much contrast to really get that to go. So I always like to keep it around.
Mm.
Highlighting the little legs like you do. Dots up the antenna. Trust me on this one.
They add.
They add. All right. Little dot, little dot, little dot, little dot.
I think there was a moth superhero sidekick.
Long dot.
Remember the tick?
Yes. There was a moth super. I think it was the moth. Got a little bit going there. A little bit more on the back end because, lit up. It was backlighting. Same over here. Same stuff. Dot, dot, dot. And edge, 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 right?
Mm-hmm. And if anyone asks, this is the spotted and dotted moth.
Spotted it and dotted it. All the way. All the way.
It is of the subspecies Sherperific.
Well, you can only do Sherperific when you're Sherperific. It's just fun. I love doing butterflies. This isn't the first butterfly I've ever painted I paint a lot of butterflies. I really like butterflies. And they're always so interesting to do as a subject because they just have so much personality. All right. So that's looking good. Rinse out. And you're going to come in, interestingly enough, we're going to get a little bit of our. I had way more cad red out than I needed. And get a little bit of our cad red and our cad yellow.
Add some dot flavor.
That's just what they has. Probably tells birds, don't eat me, I'm poisonous.
Mmm.
Generally, I find that when little creatures like this have bright markings of any kind, it's don't eat me, I'm poisonous. And, the birds watch one bird not make it, and then they're like, oh, don't eat that. I have to assume that's how the information spreads. Or they get super sick. Maybe they don't die from it, but they get super sick. And, as you might.
Yeah.
And get a little bit of my dark purple. A little edging there. Doesn't necessarily look that great up close, but then when you get back from it, it's like really amazing.
Mm.
It's just one of those things.
I like both up close and far away.
You just want to get that there, and then let's come here. That dark little edge, it creates a little drama. He wants drama.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, now I'm going to thin out some black. And I probably could keep the fluid in black too. But I tend to just keep the white because make sure you don't have a hidden drop on your...
Oh, the contrast. Nature likes that.
Nature do like that. Nature's often like, hey.
Look into my eyes. I have so many on my wings.
A little bit of a downward triangle for an eye, and believe it or not, dot, 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 dot. For little antennas too.
Be afraid of my giant moth size.
Little forward stripe for an eye. Little dot, 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 dot. All right, let's see how that looks.
It looks fantastic.
Little bit of some little mothy fellas.
Mm-hmm.
We moth.
You did.
We moth hard too.
There was no mothing about there.
There is no mothing about. Okay, when we come back, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do next. Wait, before we go, let's make sure we sign too. And then I'll tell you what to do next. I'm going to just take some like deep purple and just make sure that I put a mark on the surface that lets people know who made it. I don't put marks that damage the painting's integrity. In other words, I mean, not like its credibility has been impugned, but that damage the design of the painting, because I think that every mark and brushstroke on a painting is meaningful. Okay, come back and tell you what to do next. Guys, that was amazing. I so enjoyed that. I want to make sure that you guys know that this is part of a 30-day painting program. You can do these on their own, just one and done. You don't have to do the whole program, but I hope I could entice you to take part. On our way out, we'll give you a view of what you're going to be doing next. I'm so excited to be doing this again this year. This is our 4th year. John, what do you think of that? 4 years.
I think this is amazing.
It's a big program. Be sure and check out those free resources on the Art Sherpa website. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel release soon, most likely tomorrow. Bye-bye.